worked as a funeral director and embalmer for 26 years. During that time, I lived full-time in 3 separate funeral homes and spent countless nights sleeping or catching short naps on a sofa in a visitation room, often when a very long day would end at 3 or 4 in the morning and the next busy day had to start at 6 or 7. While I truly believe a lot of paranormal activity took place all around, I believe most was so subtle it was easily explained away, ignored, or simply not noticed if you didn't want to. For example, whispering voices when alone in the building, footsteps where no one's walking, turning a corner and seeing a dark figure turn the corner at the far end of the hallway, things like that. While there were a few more distinct occurrences, the one that had the biggest impact happened early in my career. It was late one night in a funeral home that had once been a single-family home and converted into this building. The building had one long straight hallway running through the center of the building, with offices, viewing rooms, bathrooms, etc. on either side. Both the front and rear doors were made of glass, and looking in either one was like looking in a mirror, especially at night. We had had a visitation, viewing or wake, depending on where you're from. It lasted from 10:30 to 11 p.m. In the funeral business, you never know what could happen during the night, and since I was the lowest ranking person on staff, it was my job to stay and make sure the entire building was emptied, cleaned, and prepared for whatever may be needed the following day. As I was vacuuming the main hallway, I looked up, and just as clearly as I could see my own reflection, I saw a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, walk across the hall behind me from our casket selection room into our business office. At first, it didn't cross my mind that it was anything unusual. Children wander out at slower paces than the rest of the crowd constantly, because people simply aren't paying attention in their state of grief. But at the time, it was past midnight now, and so this would officially be a child that's been left behind. I turned and started to search the building. I started with where I'd seen her go. I realized after a while, I really was alone. I spent a good 10 minutes searching a small business office with only 2 locked exits, a locked window, and no little girl to be found. While I never let these things keep me from doing my job, I will admit that when vacuuming that hallway, I never looked up. I always kept my eyes on the carpet to make sure I never missed a spot. At one point in time, I was an embalmer for a large chain of funeral homes in the city. My embalming suite was on the 3rd floor of an ancient building. It had once been 2 houses that were later combined into a mortuary. There were old sepia-tinted photographs of the horse-drawn hearse out front on the cobblestone street in one of the back storerooms. So this place had had a lot of bodies that had come in and out of its doors by the time I was employed. At that business, our policy was to embalm ASAP, no waiting until the break of dawn to begin if someone should pass in the evenings. It just tends to go better if the tissue isn't refrigerated cold. So there were many times that I'd be alone past midnight in that creepy old place. We had a little apartment in the attic that we embalmers could go up and use for sleep, given our erratic schedule. I was fine once up the stairs, but every time I went up them, I had a panicked feeling of being chased or pursued. I'd stumble run up the flight each time and got a fair bit of ribbing from my colleagues for it too. The only incident, though, that can't be written off to imagination happened late one evening when I wasn't alone. My colleague was finishing a difficult embalming that had taken him some time. He had a routine in place that always ended with him washing the instruments and lying them on a towel, neat and precise rows of stainless steel. He had OCD, I suspect, because he would sooner be late to an appointment than not leave them in this manner. He was exiting the suite when I arrived with the next client. He told me he was going up to the apartment for a rest and to let him know if I needed help. I waved him off. As I was wheeling in the deceased to the suite, we both heard it. Giggles, distinct giggling of multiple children coming from down a floor in the lobby area. We looked at each other, my eyes wide, his puzzled and squinting. Wordlessly, we walked to the hall that allowed us to see down the stairs into the lobby. It was dark and silent. We crept down the stairs. Nothing. No one but us two. My coworker shrugged and we went back upstairs. I reached the door of the suite and pushed it open. Nobody was there, but I did see something that made me call out for my colleague. His instruments were in a jumbled pile on the towel. Not only jumbled, they were hooked together strangely, like a blade through a scissor handle and a hemostat clamped onto a needle. He sauntered into the suite at my calls and stopped short seeing the instruments. Jaw dropped. Needless to say, I allowed him to help me embalm so that we could both get the heck out of there.